Hello and welcome. I'm Renata Joy, and tonight Bootstrap Magazine is launching its first digital discussion. We wanted to give you some insight into some of the content as well as the contributors. But first, what is Bootstrap? Bootstrap is a magazine for expats and entrepreneurs that focuses on the US and African markets. We created Bootstrap to address a crucial or a critical gap, I should say, with the survey that we saw in 2023. It said that 70%, yes, 70% of expat entrepreneurs said that they felt isolated. How many of you can relate to that? They also felt under resourced. So I can tell you, as being an entrepreneur for many, many years, that entrepreneurship doesn't have to be your solo endeavor. As a matter of fact, that's why we're here tonight, so that we can connect, share insights, and empower each other. So tonight, I'm really, really excited because we have a special guest. Her name is Celeste Jonson. Celeste is an expert in leadership and cross cultural competence, and she's here to share her valuable insights on empowering global voices. But before we dive into this discussion, I want to remind our viewers that your engagement is crucial. So if you have any questions or if you want to add your insights to the conversation, please be so to do it in the comments below. Now, let's begin our conversation with Celeste. Hey, Celeste.
Hey, Renata, how are you?
Doing well. So, so thank you so much for coming on and doing this with us. It really means a lot to
I'm
us.
excited to be here and welcome to you who are sitting here listening to us. So I'm so glad that you're here as well.
Okay, so let's jump right in. So,
Okay.
Celeste, your expertise in leadership and cross cultural competence, can I tell you, it aligns perfect with Bootstrap's mission. But one concept that stands out in your work is hope, which
Yeah.
you discussed in your article for those who haven't read it yet. Now, for those of you who haven't had an opportunity to read this magazine, which is amazing, including Celeste's article, hang tight because at the end, I'm going to give you the link so that you can get your own copy. But Celeste, can you explain to us what HOPE stands for and how leaders in the US and Africa can really harness this concept?
Absolutely. Thank you for that question because it is my passion. Years ago, the word just resonated with me really after the pandemic, quite frankly, when people were feeling pretty hopeless, right? We all universally, globally, were impacted by that. And I said, how do I counter that? I was praying about it. What do we do? And I said, we need to become voices of hope. We need to, in the midst of the craziness, in the midst of the sadness, and all that was happening in our world, how do we counter that? And that was the HOPE. And HOPE is an acronym, and it stands for helping ourselves and others pivot, prosper, and excel. HOPE. And so we can do that in our lives by the examples that we live in, the businesses that we run, and the people that we engage with. We can use our experiences, our overcoming experiences, our successes, our challenges. We can tell those stories to others and give them hope. So that's really the essence of it. I've had the privilege and the honor to travel many countries. And what's universal is that we're all human and we all need hope. I often say that it's something everybody needs. Nobody wants to pay for it, but we all need it, right?
Yes.
And so it's really that simple, but that we can do that, whether your world is small or large, is being that voice of hope.
Awesome. Now, it's clear that this concept is vital for an effective leadership, right? Regardless of your diverse environments that we're in. Now, building on that, you also emphasize the importance of cross cultural competence in your work. As globalization continues to shape the business landscape, what are some practical ways professionals can develop this skill to thrive in today's globalized business world?
Excellent. Well, the wonderful thing that we all have is access to information at our fingertips. We can find out anything we need to know or that will propel us to be more effective. And so, one of the fundamental things you want to do is understand whatever market you're going to be engaged with, right? If you're going to, we talked a lot about Ghana here, but I've traveled to Kenya and I've been to South Africa, I've been to Japan, I mean, a lot of countries. And the key is understanding who they are that you want to engage with, you want to do business with, you want to inspire, or whatever your posture might be. Really understand their culture. Find out what are the guidelines. I mean, I remember, for example, it's really small, but it's important. When we went to, I think it was Ghana the first time, the dress code is different. The dress code is different in Dubai, right? When you go there for women. So if you want to engage professionally and you want them to receive you and you want to be effective, you need to consider their customs, their dress code, the way they do business. In Africa, they, kind of chat a little longer than they would in New York, right? Right. So I think it's just really simple, but it's logical, but it's smart. It's just smart business.
So it's doing your homework. Even though we're living in an era of information overload, you still need to kind of like go through the process of doing your homework to figure out what's best and suitable for whatever country that you're going to be conducting business with.
Yeah, absolutely. And even the next step, that will be the first step. Obviously, there's a lot of generic information available, but then whatever industry you're in, that could be a unique component as well that may require some nuances in how you engage, right? And so I think it's just the fact that anything we really need to know or want to know, it is available. And then have that conversation with people, whatever contacts you have in that area. Ask those questions like, what should I do? How should I approach that? What would be the most effective way? This is what I'm thinking. Would that work? Right. And so, and that just comes down to leadership. That comes down to being an effective leader as an entrepreneur, as an individual, is proactively engaging and asking questions and connecting, because it's all about relationships. Yeah.
I love that. As you guys can see, I am taking good copious notes, and I hope that everybody else has some pen and paper, because it's true. I love how you said to not just on a general level, but think about your industry, because the way that you might do agriculture here in the United States may be a little bit different there. But you need to understand your process to be able to explain to somebody else exactly what it is you're trying to accomplish. So I think communication is also another factor.
That's
So now let's focus specifically on expats and entrepreneurs entering new markets. How can they best navigate cultural differences like we just started to talk about when establishing themselves, particularly in the African markets?
very good question as well. You got some good questions here. One thing that I was going to actually dovetail in what we were just talking about, and it actually goes into this question as well. It's a mindset. I think that particularly for those of us that may be in America that are listening and you're going into another country, oftentimes I've seen, especially African countries, I'll say this, and remember, African is a continent, so there's a lot of nuances in different countries within Africa. So take that as a point of reference. That's really important because all countries don't operate the same way.
Correct.
In Ethiopia and Ghana are very different, right? And so being mindful of that, but also going with an open mind. Yes, we bring value, and we have a great product or service or whatever we might contribute, but go with the open mind, because sometimes Americans, I'm one, but we go there thinking we're giving them something and we've got all the answers, and that's not the case. And that's not the most effective mindset, right? You want to go in a receptive way, because they can teach you a lot of things you don't know, and especially how to operate there. So I think I just want to encourage people as we're engaging in different markets and looking, and it's wonderful. It's really exciting. You learn so many different things, but be open to that as you are engaging is very important.
I think that is important, because if you go there with the mindset of everything, then you're not able to receive information of how to actually do something a little bit differently. Because if you both are coming with two different perspectives, just imagine what you can innovate with that information.
I mean, it is true. And it's not only true, it is true in this context we're talking about globally. It's true here too. You don't need to be walking into a meeting like I've got it all. You know, that arrogant piece, you can't tell me anything. People tend to want to pull you down with that, right? Instead of supporting you. And the whole idea is to be a voice of hope, encouragement.
Mhm.
And to do that, you really need to connect. And that's the key piece is connecting.
Mhm. And I think as an entrepreneur, even as a non-entrepreneur, we have to have that mindset of being a forever student where we're willing to learn because we don't know everything, right? No matter how much letters, degrees we have behind our names, you can never know everything. So I think that that's a real good point to bring in.
And
Now,
can I say one more thing on that?
go for it.
The other thing is, see, life, the way I look at life and these opportunities that we have, and we do have the opportunity to do many things, it's an ever growing process. Whatever you're doing now that may be excellent and extraordinary, even, as long as you're alive, you could be better. And if you approach life that way and you approach business that way and you approach people that way, my mom used to tell me years ago, and it's still true, the wisdom of our generation before, she said, anybody can teach you anything. Kids can teach you something. They can teach you something you want to do, something you don't want to do, but you have to stay open. It doesn't mean to throw away your values or your ideas. No, it means how do I incorporate that? Or do I learn anything? Or maybe you just toss it away, but being open to receive it. I just think that's really important.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I think it can come a little bit like very insulting before the connection can even evolve.
Okay.
You've kind of insulted that person or company because sometimes it can be the company itself. But yeah, I think that that's important. Great point.
And you know what? You just said something, and I know we said it before, but it's worth repeating. If you cross some of their customs, you could derail your meetings before they even get started.
Hmm.
Maybe I'm very personable. I'm very kind of informal. But in some settings, you should not go in there, hey, Renata, it's like Miss Joy or whatever the title. Knowing those customs
Hmm.
is just smart business.
Hmm. Hmm. So true, so true. Okay, so I hope that you guys are getting some valuable yet useful information that you're going to actually take action on because all of this is so true. As Celeste just mentioned, I was in Ghana, and some of those customs that you just mentioned was true. Like you really have to address people a certain way. You have to just honor them. They want to be respected just like we do here. There's no different in that. Like human behavior is the same where people want to earn as well as receive respect.
Absolutely.
But now I'd like to explore a different aspect of leadership that bridges cultures. In your experience working with diverse leaders, like you said, you've traveled to many different countries. Can you share an example of how blending traditional wisdom with modern strategies has led to success? You know, this seems to me really relative right now in the context of both US and African markets.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to think of a specific scenario that was shared. Just the idea that if your mind, and I'm going back to if you're open, you're able to, I think of it the Reese's cup. Let's put it this way as an example, and I'll come back. When you think of the Reese's cup, some of you have eaten Reese's cups, right? And it's the chocolate and peanut butter. You may be a great chocolatier and you love chocolate, and this other person wants peanut butter. And you can go in there, and both of them are great. But when you blend them, you would have something new that is amazing, right? You have the Reese's cup. And so I think the modern and the traditional, well, how can we do what we traditionally do, but maybe using technology? Or maybe we would approach, because like in different countries, depending on the work that you're doing, depending on your assignment, you may be in a part of the world that does not have access to all of the things that we may have access, technology, internet even. I mean, I remember doing mission work, right? Going out there really trying to make an impact and be a voice of hope for those people. And we assume that they may have some access to different things. Well, they may not. So maybe even some of the new things that we do, we learn how to do them the old way. and be able to adapt. So adapting to the different cultures is something else that's really important as well. So I don't know, there's a lot of variables
Mhm.
depending on where you are and what you're trying to combine, but that open mindset, the idea of collaborating and trying something new or different or old in a situation could give you a perspective that you didn't have before.
Let me ask you this. This is a little bit different, but still on topic. What do you do if you found yourself in a situation that you derailed a meeting or a connection with somebody and you realize I really do need this connection and now I have to put my tail between my legs?
Mhm.
What do you suggest to someone that's in that position? Because I'm sure a lot of people, without understanding what we're talking about, they found themselves like, now I can no longer do this. I can't do, like, how do
Yeah.
they do that?
Well, you know what I think is really important, Renata, is all the time. It's just being yourself, being authentic. If you messed up, I mean, you know what? I think I might have started this wrong. Uh,
Mhm.
if I did, please, I certainly didn't mean to offend you. And chalk it up to being not having done all my homework, but I really am, and just being genuine. I think it goes a long way. Some people will say, acknowledge that and appreciate that instead of you trying to push your way through and act like it didn't happen or walk away from it, which, like you said, might be a connection you really need. So it's like, you know what? I am human. I messed up. Or you don't have to say that, but it could be. You know, I misspoke. I should have done that. My goodness, I didn't realize I really should have done that. When you can own that, without groveling. You have to grovel, but just own it. There's a power in that. There's a power in recognizing that I'm good at a lot of things, but I'm not good at everything, and this is one thing I wasn't good at. So can we start again? And
Mhm.
most people are willing to work with you if you acknowledge that. And so I just say do that. Sometimes you lose it. Sometimes you'll lose a deal, and you'll learn that way, a hard way. But I certainly think that it's worth just owning it. Own where you are. And I think that speaks to my whole piece. When I talk about Voice of Hope, it's authenticity. When you talk about leadership now more than ever, there's so much misinformation, so much misdirection, so much out there. People just want you to be real,
Mhm.
right? And you have a valuable service or product or engagement that we can do things. And if we are just real and not trying to get over on anyone, they can tell that. And so I think really that's the way I would approach it if we made a misstep.
Mhm, mhm. And it goes back to mindset and also some of the attributes of what's an effective leader, right? An effective leader isn't perfect. To your,
Right.
you have to be able to own, like you said, your mistakes. Doesn't make you a bad person, makes you a human person, if anything. But are
That's
you a humble person? Are you
that's
willing to learn and grow and really move through that? And to your point, you'd be surprised at who would respect you even more
right.
because in the society that we're living in, people are fluffing through things and people
Mhm.
can tell when you are and when you're being authentic too. That's
That-
another thing.
that is-
Especially an effective listener, they can really hear it. Your empathy, if people can pick up on all those things.
they do. And it reminds me of an example as a speaker, professional speaker and trainer. I remember years ago, I was working with Les, and we were Les Brown, and we were at an event in New York, and I was trying to remember something and I couldn't remember the name, right? I was telling a story and I was like, and it's like, her name is, and I told things about her because I could describe it. I just couldn't come up with the name. And so I said, I can't remember her name. So I wasn't trying to make up a name. And the audience gave me her name. I said, that's right. It's Esther, right? People will work with you if you are just real. And
Mhm.
you just engage with them, right? I didn't That's right. It was Esther. And so we went on and talked about the story. So I think people will work with you if you're just being real.
Mhm.
More than not.
That's
Yeah.
a powerful illustration. I love that.
Yeah.
That's so good. So Celeste, I know we've been on, I was going to get ready to say on the phone, but we've been on this for almost 20 minutes and I don't want to take up too much of your time because I could talk to you forever. But there's something that I really want to go over and discuss with you, which is your book, Dare
Okay.
to Succeed Despite the Odds. Now, personally, I love the title.
Thank
But
you.
the principles you've outlined are incredibly like relevant for leaders today. It's almost as if you wrote this book yesterday for today. And I'm sure it was relevant when you wrote the book. But how do these principles apply to leadership challenges in both the U.S. and African contexts?
Great. Yeah, Dare to Succeed Despite the Odds. Just to give you a little background on it, really was birthed out of me running the New York City Marathon twice. That's something I've found out subsequently. Less than 1% of the population is done. I said, okay, a little crazy. You have to be crazy to do 20.
They just had it on Sunday. So
Really, yeah. Yeah, those are all nuts, right? I know. It's an amazing experience, but not too many people want to run 26.2 miles in a day, right? But from that, and this is where the book came from, was a lot of life lessons. How do you endure? How do you press forward? How do you engage? All of the different nuances of that? And it's success principles. And as a leader, the DARE is an acronym: discipline, act with clarity and focus, raise the bar, engage. These are principles that are principles. Principles last. You can have rules and guidelines, they shift, but principles, fundamental principles of being very disciplined and very focused, clear and focused action is what's required. If you want to engage globally, if you want to engage anywhere, you have to be very clear and focused where you want to go. How do you want to get there? Be disciplined in your efforts and proactively, not just starting and then throwing up your hands because it didn't work right that first moment.
mhm,
The discipline is important. Raising the bar on your ability. Here's the thing I have to tell you, Renata, that comes from the book as well, but it's an outbirth of what I'm seeing. People, resilience. We need resilience. Life is not going to be always easy. We all know this, but
mhm,
too often, like in the marathon or in life, we throw up our hands if we get tired or we get exhausted or we have a little pain. You've
mhm,
got to have some resilience, and we have to believe in what's possible.
mhm.
And I think thinking big, and for me, the marathon was pretty big because I hadn't run any marathons before, and I needed a story as a speaker, right? So I figured if I run and finish, I'd have something to talk about, and yes, I do, and I have a book.
I was going to say, now you got a book out of it.
But
But
it's
in the book, you're able to create principles to help others. Like
yes.
your story wasn't just for you.
That's right. That's right. And our lives, I don't think our lives are just for us. We're relational beings, right? And people talk about self-made. Nah, you really have others that have opened a door or that are there that will open a door or will close a door for you. It's relational. And so we have so much in us. And
Mhm,
that's what drives me as a speaker, as a trainer, as an author, as someone that's looking not only in my backyard, but globally. We need hope. We need people that believe in what's possible. That's in versus saying we can't, because why? Why be average when extraordinary is possible, right? But want to be one of those people. And so one of the things that I will say, and I know our time is winding up, I think many of us count ourselves short in what's possible. I say think big,
mhm,
think hard. I'm doing this program, I think I shared with you before, 75 Hard. Some of you may be familiar with it. It's crazy. I mean, 75 days straight that you do all these things. And if you fall short on any, you have to start over again, right?
oh,
It's
that's-
hard to do, but I can do hard and you can do hard. It
mhm,
may be hard to be an expat and move somewhere and all of the logistics that have to take place. Yeah, but you can do hard. It's been done before. And so we have to challenge ourselves. We have to believe in ourselves. We have to dare ourselves to succeed despite the odds, because on the other side or through, that's where the joy is. There's something that you can't get from reading, that
mhm,
you have to go through it. When you go through difficult times, you go through hard things, you go through big things. On the other side, it's like, yeah, I did this. It's a confidence. It's a boldness that comes from doing so. So I encourage people, if you're thinking about, I mean, this is perfect. We can go anywhere, wherever you might want to go. And I think Ghana actually is one of my favorite African countries. I've been to about 4 or 5 now. They're very friendly, just a really good place. But if you're thinking of it, hey, go for it. And whatever you might want to do. And I would say this also as I wrap up this part, um, start now.
mhm,
Yeah, a lot of people say, I want to do this. And then eventually, when the kids get older, when I
mhm,
make this amount of money, when it's always win win at some point.
Mhm.
And time passes, and then it's, oh man, I meant to do this, and time, our lives and time is fleeting. We shouldn't panic about it, but we should be very intentional. And so if you're interested in trying a new country and in exploring, and Africa is a great continent. They're doing lots of fantastic things there. And I know you were just there not long ago, and you've got great people like her that's over there. And so just do it. I've got this program now called Finish Strong. And, we're at the end of the year. And if I could say this for those of you who are listening in the United States, but United States affects the world. We all know that, which is a blessing that we can do that. We've seen amazing things happen in a very short period of time. Yeah. In our
Mhm.
country. And so what I'm saying that for is for whoever's listening, I want to challenge you to not slide into the rest of the year or say, I don't have enough time. You can do a lot of things in a very short period of time if you decide you want to dare yourself to focus, get the systems in place. And I do that kind of thing. So certainly I see you put up Finish Strong, Start Ready. I'm so excited about propelling people and giving people the opportunity to look inside and say, you know what, this year, instead of waiting till January and say, well, I'll start planning to relocate next year, start now. So the
Let,
better,
let
isn't
me
that
just
good?
let me just quickly ask you this, Celeste.
Yeah.
In your experience, why do you think people are we don't see resilience show up? I know it's that time of the year and we're
Yeah, it
burned
is.
out, or we felt like we missed the mark, and so now it's too late, right? So I love how you call your program Finish Strong Now, because a lot of people they're feeling very tired and depleted.
They
um,
are.
can you talk a little bit about that?
I can, and I will put it in the context of the book again with the race. Truly, around mile 20, I had a cramp in my leg. This is the first one. I ran it a couple of times. Now, at that time, it's an easy way to stop because, first of all, they're not paying me to run. I was paying them to run. It's like, what am I doing here, right? I
Mhm.
thought it was a brilliant idea at one point, right? So I've got this pain, and I'm saying, okay, what am I going to do? Here's the takeaway: you have to shift the way you focus, shift on what you're focused on, shift your thinking. And at the time, I shifted thinking about the weather. It was raining that first year; it rained pretty much the whole time, which was crazy. I thought about my music. I had my headset on. I consciously shifted my thinking from the pain to something else. And I'm not kidding. The pain went away because it was in my left leg, but it came back in my right leg. So, oh no, it's a true story. And I said, oh no, I can't stop now. I have a goal, right? And so I said to myself, there was this poem I had written about a year prior called It's Not Over Until I Win.
Mm.
And it says, when current results are different than what I thought when I began, I must not quit, but keep repeating, it's not over until I win. When problems and changes are all around me and I can't seem to find a friend, I must say to myself once more, it's not over till I win. It's not over. No, not over. I must know this deep within, in my mind, my heart, and my spirit. It's not over till I win. I will never give up. I will never give in. I'll never give out. It's not over till I win. Say it every morning, through good, through bad, through thick and thin. Every day I say with conviction, it's not over until I win. And the pain went away. I was able to finish the race. What I'm saying to you is it's the same. You have to just choose in the middle of the frustration, in the middle of being tired, in the middle of not having done all you wanted to do this year. Oh, well, we're in the holidays now and we'll just start next year. No, shift. What can I do in the next 8 to 9 weeks? And people have changed businesses, they've changed lives. I mean, things can happen. Just decide. And I want to invite any of you that want to explore that. I would welcome you to come because I'm on a mission. There's some things I want done by the end of the year, and I'm taking people along with me. So that's why we have the link on there. Check it out. And I have a special just for you, just for this show, really, really crazy offer if you want to participate. So I'd encourage you to check it out. Make it a Christmas gift to yourself or to someone else.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
guess what? Last thing I'll say on this, when you do that, you will start the year when people are just starting to think about resolutions in January. You got momentum behind you, man. You can just start driving.
Talk about resilience.
Talk about resilience. Talk about fast pace. I just love that. So that's where I am. That's what I say with resilience.
That's awesome. Now, as we wrap up our discussion, I'd like to ask you a final question that I'm sure our viewers will find this very interesting. I provided you with some categories for a mystery question earlier, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on one of them.
Okay.
Okay, are you ready? All right. So
Ready.
she has no idea. She told me I gave her a bunch of categories and she picked two, so she doesn't know which one I'm going to give her.
That's right.
Okay, here we go. Throughout your career as a leadership expert, you've undoubtedly encountered many surprising experiences. So, what's a surprising lesson you've learned in your journey as a leadership expert?
Oh my. Okay. The first thing that came to mind that was a surprise. And I was teaching leadership principles, and I was assigned for a 3-day training. It was 3 days, and it was on a military base with attorneys. So it was JAG, right? And so the surprise was, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't have been, but it was predominantly men, white men, older white men in military that are attorneys. And here I am, young Black female, walking in to teach them about leadership.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. And so I remember distinctly that was the big picture, but there was this one particular guy. There were several that did similar, but this one guy, he just from the beginning, he just was reading his newspaper, had his arms crossed, just wasn't having it, right? And I mean, I would ask questions, he would like, just blow me off. So the short, I mean, that was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? But what I just did was stay true to what I knew, because even when you're trying to be intimidated, someone's trying to intimidate, you know what you know.
Mhm.
But you're not going in there like you know everything, but you
Mhm.
know what you know. And they paid you to come. So we had to shift that. By the end of the 3 days, though, he came up to me and said, that was really good. That was really helpful. I was like, thank you, because it was like, oh my God, what am I going to do for 3 days with these people? Right. That was pretty crazy.
That's a really good lesson. So, what would you say to someone who's walking into that same situation with, teeth chattering and knees knocking, and they're like two steps from running out that door, like, I don't belong here. And
Yeah.
to your point, like, know your value, have confidence. To your point, they hired you. So they've already know that you were qualified to do this. You just have to know that.
You have to know that. And then I go back to the very first thing we talked about was being a voice of hope. Sometimes people are abrasive, or they push back for a lot of reasons. We can't even come up with all the reasons why. They may not be confident in themselves and they're trying to act, whatever. It doesn't matter. Your assignment, what I believe our assignment, I encourage people to embrace this idea, is you bring your best self to them and you do your best, and then you release the rest. You cannot control outcomes. You cannot control outcomes.
Mhm.
You can give your best with the desired outcome, but you don't control outcomes. I know that's an
Good.
interesting idea. And so the idea is you do your best. You do your homework, you do your best, you give it. If they receive it, fantastic. If they don't, in the spiritually, they talk about shake the dirt off your feet. You can't, everybody's not going to love you. Everybody's not going to love your idea. That's just life. But you don't have to be hostile about it. You do your best. And it's amazing. Sometimes the very people, like that man who was pushing back, will be the one that you convert because of staying centered on who you are, be that voice of hope, be the person that helps them pivot in their mindset, prosper in the way that they're trying to move forward, and excel. You give them what you can, and then you walk away. You'll be amazed at the response you'll get ultimately.
Oh, this is good. Oh, I love this. So I see your book is behind you because I'm familiar with it. Where can we find and get a copy of this book?
Actually, if you just go to I'm actually, my website is being updated, but if you go sign up, go to my website, you can send a note to me, and then we'll make sure you get a copy of it. My website is actually if you go to this
What's
Finish
the
Strong
website?
Now. My website is actually my name, Celeste Jonson. But if you go to Finish Strong Now, sign up. Or you can go to celestejonson.com, Celeste Jonson. I didn't give you that, and that will be a way you can get the book at present. My site is being updated, but if you just send me a note, Celeste Jonson, JONSON.com. That would be a way that I would get you the book. It really is a good book. Let me say this last thing, Renata. I think you would know this. When I wrote it, um, I've written 8 books. I have 8 books. And so sometimes when you read your own book, it's like, oh, that was good. Who wrote that? It's been updated a couple of times, and it really is very practical and extraordinary. I think it's extraordinary. So, yeah.
Oh, this has been good. You guys, please get her book and make sure, let's put your link up again. It's the end of the year. We have less than 60 days left. Finish
Yes.
strong, but now you don't have to, like she said, wait until the new year where everyone seems to have that resolution mindset.
Yeah.
You can start now.
Let me give a practical thing that I know and I've been doing this a long time, and you all know this. One of the most common things that resolutions they have is what? Every beginning of the year, lose weight, right?
Mhm.
Lose weight, save money. Those are very common. I'm going to get healthy. I'm going to stop smoking or whatever.
Mhm.
Listen, in 8 to 9 weeks, we have 9 weeks left. Even on the slow side, on the low side, you could lose 15 to 20 pounds by the end of the year. Think about that. And New Year's, you be in that fine, fabulous thing. I mean, before waiting until January, I'm doing that, right? Think about that. We could do this.
You're tempting the people with a good time here.
Man, come on. I mean, let's do this, man. I mean, I just think it's possible. And what a wonderful gift that New Year's Eve you're getting into that dress you couldn't get into before, or that suit or whatever, because you did the work. And talk about celebrate, you'd be celebrating what you just accomplished and whatever it might be. And that's just an example. But yeah, I invite you to join me. Come on.
You are such voice of hope, and I love it. I've enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much for joining us. Be sure to go to her Finish Strong Now to learn more about how you can finish strong. And also, if you want to get more information about her book, you can go to celestejonson.com and send her a note so that she can give you information for that. And as promised, if you'd like to get your copy of Bootstrap so that you can read Celeste's article as well as some other contributors' article, you can go to bootstrapmag.com to learn more about Bootstrap and to also get a copy. I want to remind you to follow us on social media because we're really excited about providing valuable insights and just being able to be a resource, a lighthouse for entrepreneurs and expats. So follow us on social media so that you can get more updates, additional updates that we might be doing, additional content. Your support is so valuable to us. It helps us to build a community. And we want to be here to help each other because to some of the things that Celeste was saying, we can learn from each other. There's just not one person that knows everything, but imagine iron sharpening iron, like having a group of like-minded individuals. Whoo, watch out what we can create, right, Celeste?
That's right. That's right. I'm so proud of you. This is a really great magazine, by the way. It really is. And Renata is doing what we're talking about is taking charge and doing it, making it happen. So
Thank
yeah,
you.
it's really good.
Please subscribe. If you have any comments, if Celeste stepped on your toes, if she's giving you some insight, if you have some additional questions, leave it in the comments because we'd love to hear from you. And
Yeah.
again, thank you so much for joining us on our first digital discussion. And
Yeah.
we can't wait. We look forward to seeing you the next time. Good night.
Good night.